So hi everyone, thank you for coming. Thanks for being here with us today. This is the last day of Printed Matter's virtual art book fair. If you have checked out other parts of the fair, you know there's a lot of programming going on. Today, Seaton Street Press is presenting Charles Hall's new publication, Ultra, which is co-published with Mamie and Weaver's Ultra. So Charles is going to talk about his project and everything going on with the space and take it away from here. So I'll just give you one clip. Ultra celebrates the legacy of Mamie and Weaver, their family, friends, and neighbors in Belmont West Philly. And shout out to Shakeil Greeley, who did the design for this project.
This is our first publication. This is volume 1 of Mamie and Weaver's Ultra, and I'm really excited about it, and really appreciate the support of friends and family who have allowed this to come to life and supported this. So I am going to take you through a quick presentation that just focuses on, I guess you could say, the story behind Mamie and Weaver's, how Ultra came to be, and some of the things that a couple of the exhibitions we've done over the past few years and what has influenced those things. All right. So the story of Mamie and Weaver's really starts with this photograph. This is a photograph of my grandfather on the right and my Uncle Charles on the left. I do not know who the photographer is, but it's probably, the photograph was taken in the late 40s, early 50s maybe. In front of their home in Belmont West Philly, on the corner of Ogden and Holly. What I didn't realize as a kid growing up is that the playroom in the front of the house used to be a dry cleaners. I had no idea why there were old washing machines in the what eventually became a living room, but years ago when I found this photograph, I thought it was obviously a fascinating image, but started to ask my father, what was the story behind it, and he said, we had a dry cleaners business called Ultra, and I thought that was pretty cool, and I particularly liked the photograph. The front of the house is much different now, but every now and then there are some of the foundation peels off, and you can kind of see some of the things we see here, like the brickwork behind this kind of like concrete molding. The other thing that's still the same is we still have this this grate in the front of the house that my grandfather is standing on. What I love about the photograph is the hand-drawn type. That just feels really special. I also like that the community, the other architecture in the neighborhood is reflected in the window of the dry cleaners. And as we started to come up with an idea for having a gallery space, this idea of reflecting the community through the windows became a very centering thought. So the other thing we should know about Mamie and Weaver's is that when I came back to Philly in 2013 to go to grad school, and kind of used the front of the house as a art studio, I spoke to my cousin about the possibility of it also being a gallery space. And what he thought was, he was down with the idea, but he thought that the house always had to be a place where, our family and friends could come together for Sunday dinner or Thanksgiving dinner or Easter dinner. So that thought is not only key to the space Mamie and Weavers, but it's also key to this first publication of Ultra. In the upper left-hand corner, these are my grandmother's brothers and sisters, my Uncle Leon, my Uncle Charles, my Aunt Louise, and the person who's not shown there is her other brother from New York, who lived in New York, which was John D. We also have a photograph on the left of my father standing with Weaver and Mamie. A shot in the front of the house with my wife and a woman by the name of Miss Lucy, who was an elder and a leader in the neighborhood. The fascinating thing about my grandparents is they were true characters. They had like incredible personalities. Um, they were from Wilmington, North Carolina, and had come north. My grandfather was from South Carolina. I never heard the story of how they met, but they were a very loving couple who loved to cook, who were deeply involved in the neighborhood, and who were hilarious to just to be in the presence of them. Fridays at our house was always a fish fry with fried fish, green peas, and boiled potatoes. And on Sundays, they served chicken. The family dinners have kind of evolved over the years. Sometimes it's just my cousin and my Aunt Helen, who is, I guess you could say now, the matriarch of the family. But it's a pretty big crew of cousins and nephews, and everyone in the family can cook. So Thanksgiving dinner becomes quite a feast. Green beans, ham, macaroni and cheese, stuffing, sweet potatoes, gravy, you name it, it's there. And we're very fortunate to be blessed, and to, regardless of what's going on, to be able to come together and celebrate each other. The other, I guess you could say, component of Mamie and Weavers that's really important is the neighborhood that we're in. And the neighborhood is called Belmont. Um, it is on the right next to, I guess you could say, Manchu. We're between Lancaster Avenue, Girard Avenue, and Fairmount Park. When my grandmother was alive, she used to, walk to work, which was like a 10-minute walk, straight down Holly Street, across Lancaster Avenue to Preston and Haverford Avenue. She worked at a place called the Belmont Improvement Association. And though this image is not in the book, or not in the newspaper, it is an image I have really incredible memories of. In the bottom of this in this building, it used to be a trolley repair station. So when you used to come in through the side and walk upstairs to the second floor, you could look down and you could see the trolleys when they came in. And that was pretty fascinating. So back in 2013, when I came back to go to grad school at Penn, I did a very similar walk to campus. And one of the things that I used to walk by was an abandoned theater. And when I was a kid and growing up, this theater had become the Martin Luther King Living Memorial PAL Center. It was a police athletic league, and it's a place that I remember, going for tennis camp and other things. But when I was in grad school, this building was a shop called Everyday Discount. And I often wondered, I wondered about that language and what it means for, everyday discount. And the word discount is something you saw frequently along Lancaster Avenue, whether it was Dollar Foods or Dollar Party, but there were a lot of there are a lot of businesses with the word discount in the name. And I found that provocative and wondered what that meant. So when I was in grad school at the time, I actually I made a piece about it, everyday discount, discount every day, and just tried to pose that as a question um, to what was really going on Lancaster Avenue. Lancaster Avenue was formerly known as the American Turnpike. Um, when I was a kid, Lancaster Avenue had everything, everything that you wanted to do on Lancaster Avenue, from shop to buy groceries, to buy your clothes, to go to the post office. It was all there, all possible. You could even play the number on Lancaster Avenue. Since the early 70s, Lancaster Avenue has changed. Jobs kind of evaporated, so it's it's a bit different. And even in the last few years, Lancaster Avenue has changed. That particular building is no longer everyday discount. It switched hands and was sold to someone else called Debat or Debat that sold kind of similar types of wares. But recently, the building was purchased by a developer for $450,000, and it seems there's some intent to restore the building to what it actually looked like when it was the Leader Theater. And this is a photograph of the theater back in the day. Um, when my father was a kid, he went to see movies there, and on the inside, it's pretty phenomenal. So I can only hope that it will become a theater again and not an apartment complex or something like that. Um, The other thing about Mamie and Weavers is, we wanted to create an exhibition space, and for quite some time there was a discussion on, well, how do I turn the front of the front of the house into an exhibition space, and uh, we struggled figuring out the best way to do it, and then we realized that, well, maybe it shouldn't be a space that people come in, but maybe it can be something that we project out towards, that we could project images out to the street. So in 2018 we had our first exhibition. It was called Freedom, and this was part of the Four Freedoms kind of curriculum that was going on, that asked people to um, host an exhibition, have a town hall meeting, put up flyers, but to engage the public in their civic responsibility through art. So we tried to do to put together an exhibition that really, kind of questioned what is freedom. And it involved Marie Alarcon, Tia Simone Gardner, Erlen Gaffard, Shakeil Greeley, Ernell Martinez, James Morrell, Antonio McAfee, Heather Raquel Phillips, and Ricardo Zapata. Um, all of these people are graduates of the Penn Fine Arts program. All are people of color. All are former students of Terry Atkins, and that kind of created a special bond between us. So they were the first to contribute work, And then in 2020, this past fall, we kind of bookended that exhibition with something called Freedom. And this also included some former and current people involved in the University of Pennsylvania, but also extended our reach. Ayasha Gurin is an undergrad student from 2012, I believe, who completed her dissertation and PhD with New York University while in Berlin. So she and the Black Art Action from Berlin contributed to this exhibition. Daryl Alokoe also contributed to Alake also contributed to the exhibition with a film he recently screened at Sundance. Gonzalo Reyes Rodriguez, classmate, is in the show. James Morrell as well. Jamie Robertson, who comes from Texas. Corday Henry, who at the time when I was in school was an architecture student, but has since really expanded his practice into filmmaking. Marie contributed another film to the exhibition, which I'll show you the first couple of minutes of a little later. Matthew Jordan Miller is a doctor at the University of Penn now, who's in the process of writing an essay about the exhibition. Tia Simone Gardner, who was in Freedom, also had a film. Philip Pyle contributed to this. A really smart, really uplifting short. Ray Mendez, Shakeil Greeley is a part of it, and Taji Raouf Naal is also a contributing artist to this exhibition. In starting, before really going into some of the films that were shown and how we use the space, I think it's probably just worthwhile just talking about Dawood Bay for a minute. I was fortunate when I was in grad school to have a studio visit with Mr. Bay, and in the talk that he gave later that evening, he talked about the importance of you know, in documenting people from his neighborhood, that the people in the community saw the images before people outside of the community. So before it was going to institutions to be looked at, he wanted to make sure people in the neighborhood kind of saw themselves first. So when in putting together the selection of artists and films that we featured, it's always been important that the people who are going to show their work, they didn't have to come from our particular community, but they certainly had to understand a neighborhood like Belmont, and what it meant to have a bodega, and what it meant to be in a neighborhood where the jobs have been taken out and other things have come in. But it's also really important to us to make sure that the neighbors saw themselves not only reflected through the work that was shown, but also actually, could see themselves in various films. So the first year we put together some portraits taken by Marie and myself, so that people could see themselves talking about this idea of freedom. This is what the space looks like during the day. And one of the things, that is really interesting about this particular neighborhood is what it looks like at night. The lighting is very different in our neighborhood compared to downtown, or compared to even on the other side of Lancaster Avenue, or the other side of Market Street when you're around Penn's campus. It's a little darker, which means that lights like the one from the bodega really glow. and we thought that this would be great for video. This image here is one of the just when we were like testing this out and trying to see what an image would look like in the window, and even during the test, some of our neighbors like just stopped by and were like, wow, what is this? I've even had people who were driving by who thought that because there was some type of video happening that maybe this was a bar. As you're going through the newspaper, you'll get to a page where we tried to just highlight some of the images and films that take place in the show. From in the upper left, I think that's an image from Marie's first film. There's Erlen Giffard's film is in there. James Morrell's, Antonio's film is in the bottom right. The Free Herd design came from Shakeil Greeley. And on the right side of the page, you see some of the images from Tia Simone's film, some from Daryl, some from whose film is that? I'm trying to remember that I can't remember right now. We've got Jamie Henderson, which is the flat red, and the bottom picture is also Jamie's in the lower right hand column, and Corday's animation. And one of the, I'd say the most beautiful things about sharing these films is that people come out of the bodega and they just start, they just start watching. And I've heard a lot of people comment that, they've never, they've never, seen something like this around our way, but also it's provoked curiosity and lots of different conversations about the subject matter. Really quickly, I just want to highlight two images from Jamie's film. This is an image from a conversation that she has with her grandmother, and I just really thought this idea of a window within a window looking out was kind of fascinating. It's something that when Caitlin Pomerantz saw the video, like she kind of went crazy over this moment, and thought it was really special, and I tend to agree. The other one is an image from Ornell Martinez's film and performance. I think it's Death to Access, but it's a really beautiful image that documents a film where there was a procession of in an abandoned house. I think that's a door frame that they are carrying. And while I'm not sure offhand the year that it was made, there's just something about this image and where we are now and the relationships of masks to the conversation and surviving. But hopefully Ornell will join us and talk about this a little bit. And last but certainly not least, with anything I do, I'm grateful for the time spent with Terry Atkins and Matt Friedman. There's nothing about who I am as an artist that I would be without them. So they've had a really really great impact on the practice, and will continue. So that's me at a very young age, when I was handsome and actually had hair, with my grandparents. And I miss them very much, and hope that what we try to do with the gallery space and what we try to do with this newspaper honors them and the things that they believed in. And yeah, I think that that's it. I didn't want to go frame for frame through the newspaper. We do have some other images. I can certainly hold some things up, but this is Volume 1. It is the beginning of the work for us, and I think going forward, hopefully we will continue to support the people who do much more work in the neighborhood on a daily basis than I could ever do. So in the volumes to come, there'll be commissions with photographers to capture portraits of the people who live in the neighborhood, and to really, I guess you could say, make sure that we tell our story and we create a more memorial to the lives that are that have been there before gentrification comes and kind of erases things and changes the name of the neighborhood. But yeah, that's it. And that's it for the talk. And if there are some artists who have participated in the exhibition who are on the call, I would love for them to to pop on and join the panel and talk about it.
First off, congratulations, Charles, on giving a wonderful presentation. It was really great to see some of those images and to reminisce about the space, and just kind of seeing the transition, the transformation of that space from when you first got started. And I remember when you came back to Philly, and you're sort of reacclimating yourself to Philadelphia and the rich history of that community. Could you speak a little bit about the connection to Lancaster Avenue and the close proximity to the exhibition space? Because we, I don't know if everyone knows this, but there is a deep connection between the Underground Railroad and certain areas in West Philadelphia, particularly along Lancaster Avenue. It being one of the first, or one of the original thoroughways across the state of Pennsylvania, from Philadelphia all the way to Pittsburgh. Lancaster Avenue turns into Route 30. And so it was the first sort of beginning roads that provided access across the entire state and really across the country if you want to, sort of pursue that. But yeah, Charles, I don't know, could you speak a little about more of the historical significance of that community, the Belmont area, its proximity to the MOVE bombings, possibly if you could talk on that as well, and so forth.
Yeah, it is where Mamie and Weavers is literally, it's situated on the corner of Ogden and Holly between 41st and 42nd Street. And that is 2.5 blocks, maybe 3 off of Lancaster Avenue. It's interesting. I always knew that Lancaster Avenue was called, the Great American Turnpike, but didn't quite realize that it was because you could actually go from Philly to Pittsburgh from it. But that's, for me, in growing up in proximity to Lancaster Avenue, as I mentioned, everything happened on Lancaster Avenue. And in fact, the fascinating thing is that in a lot of Black communities, there's always an avenue like Lancaster Avenue that just becomes known as the avenue. And it's where you can go and get everything that you need. There are, there are jobs on the avenue. There's an economy, and it just it really nurtured the community. This area of Belmont is historically, I guess, what you would call the top of the bottom, the top of the Black bottom. And at one point was a very rich and thriving working class neighborhood. This neighborhood was very self-sufficient, lots of craftsmen, lots of day laborers, like dry cleaning business, butcher shops, doctors, tailors, the neighborhood was really, really self-sufficient. If you go up from, I guess, Ogden and Holly, a block to, or 2 blocks to Brown Street, and then you take Brown over to 40th Street, it was the 40th and 40th and Brown is one of the houses of the Move Association. And I certainly remember as a kid when the conflicts were happening. When I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, I worked on a ice cream truck, and I'll never forget. Like we parked in front of the Move house, and they were they were not they were not interested in really in engaging. But the neighborhood of Belmont is rich in history, far deeper than that I really am know by heart. But the Move house is part of our neighborhood.
And there's another connection that you have. You mentioned earlier that your grandparents were originally from Wilmington, North Carolina, and if I don't know if folks are knowledgeable about the history of Wilmington, but it was one of the first cities that had a strong Black representation in terms of politics, the local paper, business owners, and it was really flourished sort of post Reconstruction. And there were Black elected officials in Wilmington, and I'm sure there was a tremendous amount of pride that your grandparents have come from that lineage, from that history. But there's some parallels with that in sort of West Philadelphia, in that you had white militia funded by wealthy North Carolinian who overtook the city of Wilmington by guns, and it was an armed insurrection in Wilmington. Funny enough, that they stormed the city and forced out the elected officials, took over the police department, closed down Black-owned businesses, and I think they came with a Gatling gun, matter of fact. And so, heavily armed, they took over that city and basically deposed anyone Black and anyone that was willing to work with Black folks out of positions of power. And there's a strong parallel with that and the sort of the disturbance or the quelling of the Black voice of folks from John Africa and from folks from the bomb movement. I'm sorry, from the move bombing, and the city of Philadelphia, which sanctioned a bombing on a private compound in West Philadelphia. It just seems wherever there's instances of Black voices being heard or trying to be amplified, there's always that sort of that opposing power force is willing to destroy and to quell any time the Black voice is heard. So, in saying all that, I want to just commend you on being so thoughtful about how you're using that space and how you're using that space to allow the voice of the community, for them to be reflected in not only the art that's being generated there, but to give them access to art, which is, incredibly vital at times like this. And now that we have this time where institutions are struggling, more now than ever, spaces like yours it needs to be celebrated and uplifted like that. So just congratulations again.
Oh, well, thank you. It's, it's really, it's following in the footsteps of people like yourself and like Marie that really, helped me understand the importance of this, but also to, sometimes when you leave your neighborhood or you move out, and you see a little world, you think it's the world that makes you special. But when you return to that neighborhood, you realize, oh, wow, wait a minute. No, it's this neighborhood that actually made me special. And, it's the neighborhood that has a sense of radical optimism. And this is where I grew up. So, I learned how to play, football on the streets of, of West Philly. I learned how to shoot basketball on orange milk crates. So pretty much everything, everything that kind of rests in who I am, comes from this neighborhood. If we have time, I'd love to show just maybe the first few minutes of the film that Marie made this year, that centers around it centers around the Black family reunion.
I was born and raised in this house, 52 years. Well, privacy is hell, but everybody knows me.
My grandparents' home is the only, it's the only thing that really remains in my life of who I was when I was a child. And I think this home, for me, it preserves my identity.
So we're the Black Bottom Tribe of West Philadelphia. We're just trying to preserve our culture and our history, and to also teach it to our younger folks.
I was living very comfortable in Northern Liberties. I had a 3-story art gallery, living real cool and comfortable, making a profit finally with the art that I was selling. I says, but there's the family property in West Philadelphia. I said, your mama's words has been constantly coming on me. She says, I brought this property from some good Black boys that was about something and they were going somewhere. Do not let this property go into the hands of the white man. I didn't buy it from the white man. And my mother didn't say this just one time or to one child. She would always gather us up, and we said among ourselves as children, do not let this property go into the hands of the white man, blah, blah, blah.
So back in the 50s, the front of their house used to be a dry cleaner's. And I found an old picture of my grandfather and my uncle standing in front of the window. And you can see the name of the dry cleaners was Ultra. I thought that would be a good name for a gallery space. Something that could be Ultra Black, Ultra Belmont, Ultra West Philly, ultra optimistic, I guess you could say. And the thing that I always, took a lot of pride in with my grandparents is they were community organizers, they were volunteers, they were always about community service and, doing stuff in the neighborhood. And I come across, letters from my grandparents to city officials, complaining about things, trying to get a playground. The reason for creating Mamie and Weaver's Ultra is to attempt to, preserve their legacy of community service and to try to do that through art. It's so nice to live in a community where there are people who knew you when you were a kid, when you were a child and just running the streets. and there was history and there was legacy. Initially, you know, you come back to the neighborhood and you think because, you know, you've been around the world a little bit that, you know, maybe you're something special. And what I quickly realized is that, oh no, it's not the world that made me special. It's like I was special because I came from here. It's like everything that this neighborhood has, all the genius, all the creativity that's within me comes from here. It doesn't actually come from the outside. And that was really, that was a really kind of important epiphany for me. I guess you say the radical optimism that I think is within me comes from here.
So yeah, just wanted to share that. I think, you know, we deliberately tried not to go through all the images in the newspaper, so that there were some surprises, but I'm really happy about it. I'm really grateful to Shakeil Greeley. We've been working on this identity system for a while, and this newspaper finally gave us a chance to put it to bring it to life. And Shakeil just did he did a great job designing the paper, so we're really excited by it.
Charles, you have a question from the Q&A. I'm going to read it. Is that cool?
Yep.
Matthew Miller asked, can you talk about the timing and timelines of your practice of exhibition? The timing of your two shows are very powerful times of civic discourse around electoral politics, but there's something in there about community service too.
Yeah. Both of the exhibitions that we've done so far center around the midterm elections and the presidential election. And I was inspired by Hank Willis Thomas and his initial billboards that he did one first for himself that showed the Selma March crossing the Pettus Bridge with the headline "Make America Great Again." And when he launched Four Freedoms, I wanted to be involved in that conversation. So the midterm elections and helping people, you know, be energized and enthused about going out to vote. It was a first. I guess his work helped me understand. Oh, I could be a part of that too. So that's where freedom came from. And in this recent exhibition, Freedom, which really, you know, not only, you know, Freedom was really questioning the ignorance of Donald Trump, and, you know, the 2 years that we'd had under his presidency. But, you know, in coming to vote for, you know, a presidential candidate again, Freedom took on a different energy. It took on an anger and an intensity that really, you know, we really had to get people out to vote. And I think that, you know, while the people, you know, in Philly certainly came out, Philly was instrumental to the win, just as Georgia was in the work of Stacey Abrams. So our first two exhibitions centered around, you know, just trying to heighten the awareness of the election and to you know, make sure people were inspired to get out and vote.
And we have another one from Caitlin Pomerantz. Do you see any ways that the erasure that you speak of that is endemic to gentrification as we know it could be avoided / prevented? Do you see this work itself as a form of resistance as much as memorial?
Yes, it's a form of resistance, but you know, I guess it's like it also feels like it's going up against this tidal wave, because over the past few years, you see, I guess you can just see it coming, and you see um, how they just start to change the neighborhood. For 40 years, there was a bridge that was out that they were not interested in fixing. And then in 20, I think 2014, 2015, like they finally fixed the 41st Street Bridge. Um, so gentrification is coming. You start to kind of see these kind of like indicators of gentrification, when all of a sudden you're seeing cyclists like ride through your neighborhood, when you see infrastructure being put in, like cable work being done. You can tell it's coming. So um, it might be feudal resistance, because gentrification is going to happen, but hopefully it if I can be successful in doing the work of storytelling, um, that there can be some preservation, so that names and histories and folklores aren't actually erased. But it is coming, and even there's a woman who runs the block association, and yeah, the plans are deep. Like there's a lot of change that's going to happen in that neighborhood. And I think one of the questions that, over the course of my life, I've tried to figure out, like, what's worse, moving into an all white neighborhood, or having whites move into an all black neighborhood. I don't know the answer, but I can tell you what I've experienced, in that neighborhood just around the election, when, people are coming in to canvass, people don't speak. They don't say hello, they don't acknowledge you, they just walk by. So I think that's probably, that's probably one of the many unfortunate things about gentrification.
You have an anonymous question. Can you talk a little bit about your struggles making Ultra happen, juggling fatherhood, career, living in two cities, and maintaining your art practice?
Yeah, I can understand why whoever asked that question asked it, or kept their name anonymous, because they want to see if they can ask me a question that has me in tears. It's definitely a challenge keeping the spirit of Ultra alive. I think that my plan after grad school was to stay in Philly, and to have my family return to Philly. But my kids, they started making friends in Montreal, and eventually, it was just, they just got to the point where, like, we're not leaving. You can you can go to Philly, you can do your gallery space, but we're going to be here. So I have to tag team it a bit and bounce back and forth. So that's probably been just the hardest thing about keeping momentum and keeping the space going. But the neighborhood has been extremely receptive to it, from the bodega across the street to the church that is on the same block. People have been supportive. My neighbors, I think, are probably happy that there's some time in between exhibitions, because since we do broadcasts, on the outside, you can hear it up and down the block. But for the most part, the community itself has been extremely supportive. And as we start to go deeper into telling stories around other, around individual families. I'm only expecting, support and their collaboration. Probably the greatest deterrent right now is just COVID and what it means to be in lockdown, and what that means for crossing borders, um, and getting back and forth. But there actually is one other thing that I'd say that is worth noting. In coming back to the neighborhood, I came back at a time when like Instagram had just, kind of like got hot, and there's this desire to take pictures and to take a photo of everything you see that looks cool. But I think that what I was quickly brought to my attention was that, walking through a black neighborhood, or maybe any neighborhood, but certainly taking photographs in a neighborhood like mine can certainly feel invasive, can certainly feel suspicious. And I had people think that, like I was an undercover cop when I first moved in. There was a barber shop on Lancaster Avenue that had this, that had a great sign, hand painted sign called New Identity. And I remember, taking a picture of this just because, like, I felt that, and going back to grad school, I was, I was kind of like embarking on this new identity. And the shop owner came out and he was like, "Why are you taking a picture of my shop?" And the fact that, I was celebrating the artistry of it was irrelevant to him. He was like, "Nah, he was very concerned on, well, how's this photograph going to be used? Where is it going to be used?" And I think he had a very valid point. In this version of the newspaper, there are some, I'd say that, I spent a lot of time thinking about, like, what I could publish, what was okay to make public. And there's a reason that, there aren't just random pics of neighbors in most of the shots, and the only pictures of people are pictures people who are part of my family. So I'm hoping in the next editions, when I bring other photographers into it, that one that I'll also use photographers from the neighborhood, but also that maybe there will be some large format photographs taking, so that the process is not to take an image, take a picture and move, but that this idea of waiting, and this idea of time and being present, and not making sure it's understood that the photographer is not part of surveillance. I think that'll be really, really important to do. So understanding the role that photography plays in a neighborhood is really key to how we can continue to exist, and to make sure that people are included in that dialogue.
Does anyone have any closing remarks or questions?
I just want to say thank you, Charles, for sharing the story of Ultra. You've added a lot of clarity in my mind to a lot that I did not know. I know this journey to make this publication a reality is a passion point that is definitely special. And I appreciate you sharing with us the story and you putting the passion on the paper. You are truly an artist. Much respect, brother.
Thank you, my man. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. Well, it's definitely, it's been a fascinating learning process. It's been it's been, you know, friends, classmates, yourself, Lindsay, have been incredibly supportive in helping, you know, not only helping bring the publication to life, but, you know, kind of validating the, you know, even validating the idea. And people have given me a chance to prove that it worked. So hopefully I'll be able to continue and tell the story of this neighborhood and the people that live it in a way that honors those who are there now and those who came before.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, everyone, for coming and being here and for all your great questions and comments. Charles, there are lots of comments in the chat if you haven't seen them.
Oh, I haven't seen the chat. So,
Lots of love for the project.
oh, well, thank you. Well, you have to do a screen grab of that for me.
I'm gonna save it. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Thanks everyone. I really appreciate that you all spent your Sunday with us, especially knowing there's so much programming going on right now with Printed Matter. So I'm glad that people were here live. We'll have a recorded copy of it up on the website. So if people are interested in watching it, other folks who couldn't be here, it will be possible shortly. Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.